I think that what you're seeing is essentially a pushback against the establishment in a really important way. You have a lot of people, and I would encourage anybody who is dismissive of this thing to go into Wall Street Bets and actually just read the forums. And I think that you're going to see three kinds of posts. The first kind of content are a lot of people doing some incredible fundamental diligence on companies, trying to think about long-term value. And in my opinion, many of them are doing as good and frankly a better job than a lot of hedge fund analysts that I work with. That's number one. The second are a lot of people who believe that, coming out of 2008, what happened was Wall Street took an enormous amount of risk and they left retail as the bag holder. And a lot of these kids were in grade school and high school when that happened. They lost their homes, their parents lost their jobs, and they've always wondered, why did those folks get bailed out for taking enormous amounts of risk and nobody helped and showed up to help my family?
The reason the market is doing what it's doing is people are sitting at home getting the checks from the government, okay? And this fair share is a bullshit concept. It's just a way of attacking wealthy people. And, I think it's inappropriate. We all got to work together and pull together.
What's got Wall Street all bent out of shape is the fact that a group of retail investors have been plotting to take on the greedy hedge funds who've been short selling stocks like GameStop. They are outraged that these mainly millennials have come together to take on the hedge fund mafia. Wall Street Bets Forum members have decided to take on some of the biggest hedge funds on Wall Street. So what has Wall Street hedge funds been doing? Well, without going into all the mechanics, because it's a bit boring, let me try and sum it up in a kind of like a simple way. So the hedge funds see that GameStop, which is a high street retailer that sells computer games and other electronics, and because everybody's been in lockdown, loads of people haven't been able to go to the shops, go on the high street and buy videos. A lot of people have been downloading their video games instead of going out and purchasing them. So GameStop's revenue has shot down. Now, because it's a publicly listed company, you have the hedge funds circling the drain, like vultures. They see their prey stumbling, and they think if they could fly in and finish it off, then there's something to eat. So that's how they're operating. They're flying in, seeing a weakened bird or animal, and they want to take it down. Now, you're going to say, how do they do this? Well, simply put, they go and borrow shares in GameStop. So they borrow the shares in GameStop at, say, $1.50. So they borrow them at $1.50. And what they're doing is they're taking a gamble or a bet that GameStop shares will keep falling because GameStop has not got any revenue and the profits are falling. So every time it issues a profit warning to the stock exchange, investors will take fright and they'll keep selling the shares. And if you keep selling the shares, the price of the shares will go down. This is what the hedge funds are doing. They're hoping that the shares will go down. So they bought them at $1.50 per share. They're hoping the shares will go down. Now, if the shares go down to, say, I don't know, 50 cents or 50 pence per share, and then they buy the shares at 50 cents, they then pay back the borrowings, which were $1.50, but they bought them at 50 cents. So the difference in the middle is $100, £100, £100, whatever. It's 100. That 100 is their money, is their margin, and that's what they're doing. So it's called shorting the shares. Now, what happened? Okay, so a group of millennials and others who are on the Reddit forum, which is the Wall Street Bets forum, they've come together and says, well, we don't like this. We don't like how these people are screwing companies. So what they decided to do, what they decided to do is they decided to buy the shares as they were falling. So as they buy the shares, the price of the shares started to go up. So at one point, off the top of my head, over a 2-week period at the end of January, well, we're still in January, but January 2021, the last 2 weeks of January, the shares were trading at $37 and so many cents. Within a 2-week period, the shares has gone up to $194 per share. So you can see the difference. Now, the hedge funds who bought the shares at $37 are making a material loss. They're making a loss, and it's not just hundreds of millions, but it can run into billions. So they're making a massive loss. And apparently some of them have had to be bailed out, or some of them are near bankruptcy. That's how bad it is. So what's happened? The proverbial has hit the fan, and everybody's upset in the purchase of any more GameStop shares. The regulators of Wall Street are looking into this as a crisis. It's a crisis for them. This brings me to my point. The idea that black capitalism is some type of liberating force. It's just nonsense. African brothers and those who identify as black are not able to liberate themselves through structures of white power. If that was the case, then it would have happened a long time ago. Do you see? So it's a form of misdirection. The system is rigged in a way that it benefits those people it's being rigged for. It's not being rigged for you. But yet still you have people claiming black capitalism is the solution. These people are jokers. You see, Wall Street is set up to benefit the billionaire class, the millionaire class, large corporations, and their political servants. It's not set up for people on Main Street. It's not set up for the average man and woman. So a group of Reddit Wall Street bet forum members are suing the owners of the Robinhood app for restricting their right to buy shares in GameStop. You see, this whole thing they call capitalism is a rigged game. And what these, what they call retail investors, these people on the Reddit forum were doing, they were exposing the hypocrisy at the heart of capitalism. They're exposing the greed and the vested interest at the heart of capitalism in the US and around the world. You see, please, let's look at the other industries that we could be involved in. Look at the music industry. Look at sports. Look at entertainment like Hollywood and TV productions. Places where you would think that we could make progress. But no, these sectors are rigged. They're even now looking to go to Nigeria. You've got record labels, record companies from the US setting up in Nigeria to try and rig the music industry in Nigeria. And you think that we can make progress in these systems? Now, don't get it twisted, because for some reason, people are not taking the message from these videos clearly. They seem to be taking different messages that I'm not saying. The message is clear. It's not about victimhood. It's about a system in which somebody rigs against you and then you're banging your head against the wall, pretending that you're making progress. Why work within somebody else's system when you can build your own? That's the issue. It's not about being a victim. Who gives a shit? It's about you getting up off your knees and doing the work of building your own system, instead of complaining that you can't get a squeeze in another man's system. Now, you have brothers and sisters, unfortunately, but brothers who are telling you that you can make it in their system. Capitalism is a good thing. Vote for Trump. Trump will make everything, easy for you. Motherhood and apple pie. It's nonsense. So the idea that a retail investor can compete with institutional investors on Wall Street is just a lie. You don't have access to the information that they have. You don't have access to the inside relationships which they have. You don't have access to those things. So anything you do can only be limited in shape and in scope. But you have brothers who are telling you on a daily basis that you can make it on the stock exchange. It's just rubbish.
And then the third thing is a realization that instead of having idea dinners or, quiet whispered conversations amongst hedge funds in the Hamptons, these kids have the courage to do it transparently in a forum.
Now, you might be arguing, well, there is no alternative. Capitalism is the way forward. And the stock exchange is the pinnacle of capitalism. But I beg you, have a look at what is going on. For the longest time, firms in America that are listed on the stock exchange have not been inventing or coming up with new products or services for the longest time. So what they decided to do instead is they've decided to buy back their shares. So if you're in the top echelon of these companies, you're at the board level. Much of their remuneration package is linked to the share price. If the share price goes up, their bonuses and everything else goes up. So it's in the interest of the management, of the senior management, to push the share price up. Now, how do you do that? Well, there's two ways, that the managers can do. They can produce new, innovative products and services. People rush to buy them, sales go up, profits go up, share price goes up. And then there's the alternative way, which is they buy back their own stock. So the firm is the firm agrees to buy back its own stock over a period of time. Now, how does this work? If the CEO says, look, we need to buy back our shares every quarter, the fewer shares in the market to be traded means that the share price is going to go up. What have they been doing for the last 20, 30 years in the US and around the world? People have been buying back their shares. Companies like Apple and the others have been buying back their shares, which has pushed the share price up. Now, so what's happened? You've had a few grifters and snake oil salesmen and other people within our communities telling us that the stock market is going up and we must get a share of it. It's going up because people are buying back their shares. So, is this capitalism? No. There is an alternative to this rubbish, but people don't want to hear it. And by the way, it's not socialism. As brothers, to get a share of that American dream. Wherever you are on planet Earth, you can get a share of that American dream. Some people, like on Bloomberg, talk about global Wall Street. You want to get a share of global Wall Street. But I ask you to look a little bit closer. I do not deny America is the richest economy in the world. I don't deny that. I don't deny that it's used capitalism to get there. But has it really used capitalism to get there? So let's have a little look. So as the US was becoming a major economic power during the 19th century, it was coming up against the #1 power in the world at the time, which was Britain, the UK. The UK was able to manufacture and sell its products and services around the world. America was not quite at that point. So what did America do? It erected tariffs over its industries to protect them from imports that were more sophisticated, were more attractive to the domestic market in the US. It kept barriers up until it was strong enough to take on the rest of the world. That's the first thing. This is what supposedly capitalist countries are not supposed to do. You're supposed to open your economy and trade fairly. But no, they kept tariffs very high to prevent people from trading in their economy. Then roll on to the First World War, or what I call the First European War of Aggression. It was a big imperialist war. America came out stronger out of the war. It was able to gear up its factories to produce guns and uniforms and planes and ships. So it became really powerful, and it was able then to sell its surplus war supplies to the Allies. Roll on to the Second World War, or the Second European War. Again, America geared up, and it was able to become the most powerful country after the Second World War. It had converted its factories. It was making ships and planes and tanks and guns, armored vehicles. It was boom. It was supporting everybody. It was lending money to the Allied countries. It came up with the Marshall Plan to ensure that its manufactured products could be sold into Europe. It did everything it could to boost its economy. So it became the world's largest and most powerful economy after 1945. So roll on to the 70s, 80s and 90s. They see potential in China to offshore their production to China, to Vietnam, to Bangladesh, to all these other low income economies, and then to take the margins from the price of the product to the cost of the product. So for example, at the height of the iPhone boom for Apple, China was making $4 per iPhone. That's what China was making. The rest of the money was going back to Apple and to the US. Do you see? That's how they made their money. So we are now in the 90s and the noughties. People don't have any work. The work is not of any value to give them a high salary. So what did they do? They gave everybody debt in the forms of car loans, in the form of credit cards, in the form of student loans. Everything was debt denominated. And that's how they've been able to maintain their capitalist model up until now, up until when China entered into the world economy and said, look, I can do everything as good as America, cheaper, faster, better, more efficient, come with me. And the world said, okay, let's go with China. So today's capitalism in America is a declining capitalism based on the fundamentals of nothing, just based on sand. And you have brothers saying that you should back a losing horse. No, you do not have to back a losing horse. American capitalism is going in the toilet. So at the end of 1945, or the end of the Second World War, or the Second European War, America controlled 50% of the world's wealth or income, but it had a population of no more than 6% of the world's population. You see, once you dominate the world through rigging the world, they rigged the world economies outside of the USSR, they rigged everywhere else. And that's how they were able to keep 50% of the world's income or wealth. Once the rest of the world started to wake up to what was happening, that figure started to come down, and that's why you have a crisis of capitalism in the US. So today, America roughly controls 20% of the world's income and wealth, but has only a population of 4% or 4.5% of the world's population. So you can see, although the money has come down, it is still too high. Why should 4% or 4.5% of the world's population control 20% of the world's income? Clearly that's wrong. So you can see there was a structural problem based on rigging. So now, do you want to be involved in a rigged system, given that the rest of the world wants to see that end? People who are snake oil salesmen, people who push black capitalism, say yes. You want to hitch your wagon or hitch your horses to a wagon that is failing. No, you don't want to be doing that. You need to find an alternative. That's what you need to do. We have to take on board that there is a significant number of people within the African family who want to hold on to white power. When white power writes the rules of the game, they write the rules in their benefit. You have to comply to them though, but the rules are written in a way that benefits them.